Max Holloway needs to move. He cannot try to stay there and let ILIA Topuria back him up or crowd him. Because I promise you, if ILIA Topuria touches Max the same way he's touched Jai Herbert, the same way he's touched Bull, he's knocking out Max.
These dudes, when they come together and they land something good, they both go, you better watch out.
Yeah.
Very close.
Now Max is southpaw. Switches back. Another funny leg kick from Topuria. Alexander Volkanovski employed that weapon to great effect in his 3-fight series with Holloway. Nice little scooping uppercut there from Topuria, and he goes right back to the calf. Pretty good head movement there by the champ. Oh! Huge right now for Topuria. Holy shit! Oh my goodness! Gets out of the pocket. He's got a chin on him.
But he was hurt. That's the first time I've seen him stunned like that.
But Ilia's got to be careful that he doesn't punch himself out.
Oh no.
Max needs a chip. Holy shit! He does it again! Ilia Topuria!
This dude at 145.
God.
Oh, UFC 308 happened over the weekend, and Max Holloway just got knocked out for the first time in his career. As you can see from what I just shown, it was pretty brutal, I will say. On a bit more detail about the fight itself, Max Holloway did have a really good first 2 rounds. It looked like Max was gonna win the fight. At the start of the first round, ILIA Topuria does point to the ground, but Max Holloway doesn't exchange it. Looked really good, looked his best out there. Second round, same concept more or less, came out, got him with some good kicks, good body kicks, good spinning kicks, leg kicks. He was getting him with oblique kicks into his right leg, which he got surgery in a couple years ago in his earlier parts of his career. Third round, everything fell apart. Max Holloway starts to slow down for a bit, causing Ilia to just catch him with a mean, disgusting right hand. I swear to God, this right hand, when you hear it, it sounds like a gunshot is going off.
Good head movement there by the champ.
It was one of the craziest sounding punches I think I've ever heard in a fight. When he punched Max Holloway square in the face, it sounded like a legit car crash for a second. After that, you can clearly see that he stuns Max Holloway, gets him up against the cage, and it starts to sink in this very moment where I realized no matter how much I thought Max could circle around, no matter how much I thought he can move, be dynamic, it sank in this very moment. I realized nothing can prepare Max for the fucking train of a right hand that ILIA Topuria has. Because my God, when he struck him with that hand, you would think Max Holloway had saw a ghost with the way he reacted. You can tell he's never been punched like that in his career. And once he did, he went into defense mode immediately, got backed up against the cage and moved around so he wouldn't get touched. But it just wasn't enough. Backed off, circled out of the cage, got backed up against the cage once more, and Ilia caught him with that shot and put Max Holloway on the ground. I lost my mind when I saw this.
Max needs a chip.
I have never seen in my entire time of watching UFC something like that. I still can't believe what I just witnessed. I saw this firsthand live, and I've watched this back so many times, and I still can't believe what it was that I saw, because nobody ever in the time that Max Holloway has been fighting has made Max Holloway look like that. Not Dustin Poirier, not Alexander Volkanovski, not Conor McGregor in his prime. Absolutely nobody has done that to Max Holloway. Alexander Volkanovski had 3 fights with Max Holloway and couldn't do nothing near what ILIA Topuria did. in the 2 minutes it took him in the third round. I lost my mind. I didn't know what I was seeing in that moment. And mind you, Max Holloway is my favorite fighter of all time. After seeing what I saw him do against Alexander Volkanovski, and then doing the same thing in his very next fight against Max Holloway, this guy might be the GOAT right now. I'm not lying. I said in my last video that if he knocks out Max Holloway, he could very well be the pound for pound number 2. I think he's pound for pound number 2 right now. And I don't need to see him fight Diego Lopez. I need to see him fight Islam Makhachev now. I need Islam Makhachev to do the Arman fight. Whoever wins, they gotta fight ILIA Topuria, because that was crazy what I saw the other day. I wanted Max to win. You guys know I picked Max to win. You guys know Max is my favorite fighter. The way he touched Max Holloway and the way Max Holloway looked after the fact, you can tell Max Holloway never has experienced something like this, and it was crazy to see. It goes to show the level of fighter that ILIA Topuria is, because not even Dustin Poirier in his prime, catching Max Holloway with very similar shots, not even he was able to do that to Max Holloway in his prime. So I think ILIA is one of the best fighters, one of the best champions of all time. I think he's on his way to becoming the featherweight GOAT, because the way I ranked Alexander Volkanovski as the featherweight GOAT was because he had a win over Jose Aldo and he had 3 wins over Max Holloway. And I put Max Holloway over Jose Aldo because he had 2 wins over Jose Aldo. Alex fought Max 3 times and couldn't do that to Max. And in all the featherweight, nobody was able to do that to Alexander Volkanovski. Now, as for Max, I think he needs to switch weight classes. I liked him fighting Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 because it kind of showed that he knows that his time in featherweight's up. But at the same time, him coming back down to fight ILIA Topuria was one last way to get his shot at the belt. Now that he's gotten knocked out by ILIA Topuria, there's nothing really left for him in featherweight. His frame took on pretty well at lightweight, so I think he should just make the change completely and stick to that weight class, especially after beating the number 2 contender in Justin Gaethje. I think Volkanovski should do the same thing too, because when Volkanovski got in the cage at the end of the fight, that was one of the saddest things I think I've seen in a while. That might have been just as sad as seeing the Max Holloway knockout, because Alexander Volkanovski was practically begging for ILIA Topuria's attention in that moment. And you could tell that ILIA Topuria just didn't give a fuck. And why should he care? Because he knocked him out in the first fight, and if they have a rematch, he's knocking him out again. And he just saw him knock out the guy that he tried to fight 3 times. So that's why ILIA Topuria doesn't care, and he shouldn't care. ILIA Topuria shouldn't rematch Volk, because if he rematches Volk, he's going to send him to the retirement home. Volk and Max need to cut their losses and realize that featherweight doesn't really have anything left for them, which sucks to say, but featherweight's really changing right in front of our eyes. And we all know Brian Ortega planned on making a lightweight debut soon. I think the 3 of them need to cut their losses and just stick at lightweight and see how the rest of their career plays out. And it sucks because I thought in some moments watching the fight that he could really beat ILIA Topuria, and at some moments he looked like he was. But ILIA Topuria is just too strong, and it's clear that featherweight's going to be his division for a while. Because if Diego Lopez can't beat him, I don't think anyone else at featherweight's going to beat him. And if I'm being honest, I don't even think Diego Lopez can beat him, which is saying a lot because I think Diego Lopez is really good. But I don't think he'll be enough for ILIA Topuria. Insane main event, insane fight. I think it's one of the best fights of the year. And as a whole, UFC 308 was one of the best pay-per-views of the year. For the co-main, we had Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. And I'll be lying if I said Khamzat Chimaev isn't the champion right now, because that's very much what he should be after the performance he put on last night. Khamzat Chimaev is another one like ILIA Topuria, where he's doing things that nobody else has done to these fighters before. Because the way he kept Whittaker down after taking him down and just staying on him, Romero couldn't do that, Brunson couldn't do that, Jacare Souza couldn't do that. And once he got that choke in, it took him about a couple seconds of pressure to get that tap after breaking Whittaker's jaw. And it just goes to show how strong he is, because he had his whole frontal forearm on the jaw of Robert Whittaker. He was pulling with enough strength on his forearm to break the front teeth of Robert Whittaker, which he said he had some kind of injury in the past. but that's fucking crazy. Khamzat Chimaev got Robert Whittaker out of there in the first round. I think he beats Dricus du Plessis. He's going to take him down and do the same thing to him. They need to make that fight. I don't want to see Sean Strickland go for another fight with Dricus du Plessis. It's going to be the same thing as the first fight. Give us Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP. Winner could fight Sean Strickland. Give me Khamzat Chimaev versus DDP. Winner defends the belt against Sean Strickland. I think this calm, happy, cool Khamzat Chimaev we've been seeing all week and into the fight, I think this is the best he's ever looked. And I think if this is how he's going to be fighting, if this is how he's fighting now, middleweight's going to have a problem for a while if he does become the champion. Which I just think it's a matter of time until he does. Ankalaev-Rakic fight was boring. I picked Ankalaev to win. He won. It was boring. That's all I can say. Ankalaev looked really good. I think he'll give Pereira some problems, but I just see Pereira knocking him out. He did a good job at checking those leg kicks and didn't let them wear too much damage early on. But overall, the fight was just a snooze fest from both of them. The Lerone Murphy-Dan Ige fight was pretty good, but Dan Ige lost all cardio after the first. Dropped him in the first round, which had me going crazy because I really thought that, yeah, this is where Dan Ige locks in. But no, Dan Ige does what he always does and sells in the last 2 rounds of a fight that he's winning. But it's okay because he's going to fight some unranked fighter now, and we'll see him get a highlight reel knockout, and it's going to be rinse and repeat with Dan Ige till he retires. I want to talk about Shaur Magomedov. He beat Armen Petrosyan. He was looking very hittable early on in the fight, but locked in and started hitting him with insane moves. Got him out of there with a double spinning back fist, which was honestly one of the craziest things to see in real time. Beautiful performance from Shaur Magomedov, and I think he's the most interesting middleweight contender at the moment. I'd like to see him get one more fight before he fights out of the top 15, because he did get kind of tagged in the earlier parts of that fight, but if he can really lock in and make some adjustments, I think he's going to be a good middleweight contender. Would like to see him fight a grappler, but not now. I do think I like the style of which he fights. I think he's going to bring a show every time he gets out there. So good performance from Shaur Magomedov. RDA broke his leg against Jeff Neal. But one thing I will say about Jeff Neal is that he came out there, and this is one of those other fights where Jeff Neal locks in. I expect him to sell in his next fight. Came out in this fight with some urgency and immediately put that pace on RDA. But RDA folded and broke his leg early on, so happy birthday to him, I guess. Another similar thing happened with Chris Barnett, who went for a spinning head kick and just didn't pivot his foot, so he tore his ankle and then just got TKO'd by Kennedy Nzechukwu. It was one of the funniest, most absurd things I think I've seen ever in a UFC fight. Up there with the striking from Raquel Pennington, Juliana Pena. This fight might have been a close second. The Ibo Aslan, Rafael Cerqueira fight was also hilarious too, because Ibo Aslan just came out with crazy winging left and right hooks and threw about like 30 of them until Rafael Cerqueira just went down and it was a TKO. It was fucking wild. And then he called out the entire light heavyweight division. So Ibo Aslan, good fight from him. A lot better than I expected. I thought he was going to lose, honestly. But apparently I wasn't familiar with Ibo Aslan's game. So good performance from him. I'd like to see who he fights next. And crazy, just power from him and just knocked them out. The McTavick-Orlby fight and the Mateusz Rebecki fight was also really, really good too. Honestly, one of the best fights this year. Started off with Rebecki getting some really good jabs on Orlby and some really good right hands. He tagged him up early on in the fight and ended up closing up his eye over the course of the first round. Before the second round kicked off, you could tell the doctors were looking at it, but they let him fight anyways. It looked like his eye swelled up completely, but he was still fighting really good in the second fight. Kept the same pace going, and they were both 1-1 in the third. Put some real heavy power shots on him, and it cut him really bad in the second round too, so both men were 1-1 going into the third. Third round was when things start to get a little bit crazy, because at this point, both men are just covered in each other's blood, and Rebecki just goes out there swinging on Orlby and ends up looking like he's about to get a TKO. You see Orlby start to creep up like a zombie out of a movie, and little by little, he just pops right back up and just keeps going with Rebecki. And then on top of that, he tags up Rebecki with some shots. It looks like he's about to get Rebecki out of there too. Is a fight of the year contender and did win fight of the night. Mateusz Rebecki won after beating him by a split decision, but both men looked really good. and I'd like to see what's next for the both of them in their upcoming fights. So yeah, that's what I thought about UFC 308. I think the featherweight division is changing, and I'd like to see who's going to be able to stop ILIA Topuria. I don't see it being Yair or any of the other old contenders. I don't really see it being Mosvar or Arnold Allen either. I just don't think either of them have the skill sets for it, or even Aljamain Sterling. But one person I do potentially seeing having the best chance out of all of them is Diego Lopez. And even then, I still don't see it being enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you agree with me, leave a comment. If you disagree with me, leave a comment. If you like the video, leave a like. And if you like videos like these, subscribe to the channel. 99% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel, so make sure you click that button and turn on post notifications so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. And I'm going to see you guys next time. Peace.
Stand your base. Stand your base. It's your...